What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 396 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. My co-host with me, Alex.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
You're frozen, aren't you? The whole world is, the whole of New England is frozen. I did the weather thing again, every time. Joining us this week, waiting patiently, has no idea what we're even talking about because they're about 1,000 miles in the other direction, is the co-founder of Aurum Effects. We have Derek joining us today. Derek, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure. This is my first podcast, and I'm excited.
That it kind of like calms my nerves a little bit because I get nervous when we like, especially when it's someone that I'm very unfamiliar with. Apparently, I've been more than familiar with your work, just doing a quick peruse of like your Instagram and stuff like that. But this is one of those. Alex is an amazing guest scout. He finds things, he puts them in front of my face, and he says, "How about this?" And I say, "Hell yeah, dude, let's talk to him." Every now and then,
guys.
it is a little intimidating. So I'm glad to hear. We're happy to be your first. But I'm gonna stop rambling. Alex probably has a nice intro planned.
Popping my podcast cherry.
Yeah, that's kind of how I wanted to put it, but I wasn't sure.
I was debating on that one myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say it. Say it how it is.
We're just gonna lean into it. We're gonna do it.
I don't remember the exact moment I found this Instagram. I was searching a lot of things. I was looking for cool people to follow. I was looking for people that make awesome stuff. We talk to a lot of makers, and I was like, this one might be a stretch because he legit works
kind of a big deal
on movies. Like my webpage just died. He's like, we've talked a lot about the Marvel movies. He's worked on enough of them where he's posted a picture of an armor, and someone goes, "Which one's that from?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know." And someone goes, "Oh, I think that was the Ultron one."
There's been a few for sure.
So people kind of gather because we've said the name of your company and we've said your name and we said that special effects in Iron Man, but we haven't really gotten into you and your work. So people who might be unfamiliar, do you want to give us kind of like a quick breakdown of who you are, what you do, and then Alex and I are going to ask you tons of rambling questions about it and gush over your work.
Sure. Well, let's start from the beginning of my career. I had an amazing opportunity to start working at my father's company, Legacy Effects, which used to be Stan Winston Studios. And I started there when I was 16. So basically sweeping the floors, starting at the very bottom. And slowly over the years, I think when I was 18, I finally got to paint something. And it was the progressive Flowbot. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but it was a commercial where there's the Flow robot, and it's just, a basic white, like, dress thing, and I just painted it white, like an automotive base coat. I don't even know if I think I put, like, a clear coat on it or whatever, but not like an automotive clear coat, just like a spray can one. Super simple, but I was super stoked on it, I was like, holy crap, I finally got to paint something, and this little passion just sparked in me, and I was like, I like this, I want to paint, and it just kind of developed, and pretty soon, I don't know, 19, 20, that's all I did was just paint for Legacy, and painting is my passion. This art form is my passion, the whole thing. So I worked for Legacy for 10 years, and I had this calling that I needed to, fly out of the nest and do my own thing. And my partner, Eric, and we actually met on Instagram because I had painted these Destiny pistols for Bungie at Legacy. And then I believe Bungie took those paint masters, gave them to Eric, and then Eric reproduced several copies of those pistols. And Eric was following me for quite a while, I think, before I followed him. But then I found him, or I noticed him liking my pictures or something. I found his page, I followed him, and then I saw these guns that I I had done, or at least I thought they were the ones that I had done because they looked so good. And I was like, is that mine? He's like, no, actually, I had to reproduce those. I held yours in my hand. That's stellar work, dude. And I was like, oh shit, thanks. Like, you too. So that's how it started with my partner. We just met on Instagram, which is funny because me and my fiance, we met online as well. So, by the way, I just got engaged. So,
congratulations.
That's pretty exciting. Thank you. We're very happy. She's wonderful. So the internet's an amazing place to connect people. And so Eric and I, we did some projects together. He would hire me and fly me to San Francisco, which is where he used to live, basically San Mateo. He'd fly me out every once in a while to help them out on a project, do some paintwork for them, and we developed this good relationship. We worked very well together, and we had a lot of fun doing it. I was like, this is awesome. I really enjoy, being more involved in the creation instead of taking orders that trickle down. Mm-hmm. And so I really fell in love with that. And just a couple more projects he and I did together, the better it felt. And then the first trip that I went to China, I went and worked for a company called Aurum Effects, and I was there for 4 months. And I was calling Eric every day, or every other day or whatever. We just shoot the shit and talk about work, and we decided that we wanted to start a company together. I think he was getting a little bit burnt out doing it on his own because it's a lot to handle, just doing it on your own. And so, we came up with this idea. We didn't have the name or anything at that point, but, I was playing around with an app on my phone, trying to come up with different logos and stuff, which is funny. The first little mock-up design logo actually kind of looks similar to the one that we have now, which is by accident, I think. And I don't know, maybe a little bit of a premonition there. But man, this year, so we started Aurum in January, and so it's basically been a year, and it's been a wild ride. It definitely has been a wild ride. It's been a blast. It has its ups and downs. It's not easy owning your own company. There's more stress and more pressure, but there's also a lot more reward that comes with it.
I have about 18 different directions that I want to go right now, just based off.
Sure, just ask away.
Right. I think, with the last thing you said there in terms of starting your own company, that seems like such a terrifying, because like Alex and I started this back in 2012, but we have the luxury of like, this costs us like a couple bucks a month for hosting fees. And other than like our own personal time, we're not sacrificing like jobs or we have the luxury of doing this in our spare time. Mm-hmm. So like starting your own company and like leaving your, like, that's such a leap that so many people say, like, I never would have known if I just didn't do it. Like what was that like?
That's a true statement though. If you don't try, then you'll never know what it's like.
Right. So like, what was your mind like? Were you kind of in that headspace? Like, I need to do this. I feel like I can make this. What was that like? Kind of, taking that leap.
It's frightening but exciting. It would be very easy to just stay, at Daddy's house and do good work for Legacy, which is, one of the biggest effect shops in Hollywood. It's kind of hard to leave that. It's such a good deal that I had going already, but. I was just excited to experience this, and I was also confident in my abilities and also confident in Eric's abilities.
I mean, the work kind of like I'm going to tell. We usually wait until like toward the end of the episode for like plugs and stuff, but just so in case people are listening and want to see like the work, I'm just going to say like you need to check out. The Instagram. It's Aurum Effects. It's AURUM Effects. EFFECTS.
Effects. EFFECTS.
Yes. Go check that. Go peep this on Instagram. Like while we're talking, do some scrolling. Like while you're because it's we warned Derek. We tend to gush. Like the work it's unbelievable,
thanks,
dude.
Guys.
Like I can't even. I can't even begin to.
We love what we do.
It's clear. Like I got into to Destiny 2 a couple years ago when it was like free on PlayStation Plus, and I downloaded it, and then I put an embarrassing amount of hours into it, and then I got into it again like 3 or 4 months ago.
And I've only played Destiny 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And like just seeing some of the weapons, like just those right out, like there's so much here to look at, but like, you know, for someone who like, and the weapon design.
We actually just came out with we think it's a pretty cool video featuring our Polaris Lance Scout Rifle. That's our last post. If you guys haven't checked that out, definitely go check that video out. We're proud of that.
It's got a voiceover and like scientists like calibrating this thing.
Yeah, you guys seen it. Yep. It's pretty fun. Yeah, Eric got in a lab coat that we custom made with Clovis Bray logos on it, and yeah, that was a fun one to make for sure.
So you
created our own set. You know, we're the directors. Nobody can tell us yes or no, or they don't like this. It's like, this is what we want to make, and we made it.
And you have the ability to make it. You know, it's unbelievable. Like this, it feels like the sky's the limit in terms of like what you guys can create. I'm gonna let Alex have a question. I feel like he's chomping at the bit. I'm gonna stop hogging the mic here.
Okay, yeah.
One of the problems that I have was that my dad would bring me to work a lot, and it ended up just killing it for me. And it was overkill, and I was like, I don't want to be a fireman. I hang out at the firehouse 5 days a week, and it's Tuesday. I'm all set. So, and it's a matter of like, at what point did you decide, well, I'm gonna learn how to do all this painting, and you do so much, and you get so many different textures, and knowing just the matter of like what materials to use. Was this something that you went to school for, or was this what you learned on the job, or learned from being around it so much? Like, how did you take in all this information?
That's a good question. Start with when I was young. I was definitely born with natural artistic ability. I've been drawing and painting things since I was 4 years old. I get it from my dad. He's an incredible artist. His name's John Rosengrant. He's been in this industry for 40 years probably. He's an amazing sculptor and painter, so I kind of naturally had an affinity towards art. I did not go to school, like I said earlier. I started when I was 16, and being around the best in the industry really helped me a lot and gave me an advantage. And so I would watch them and learn from them, pick up their skills, and it was hard to, at first when I had questions, they were reluctant to give me answers because they didn't feel like I deserved it, or I didn't deserve to be there. I didn't earn it the way that they had earned it. And they've all their blood, sweat, and tears that they put into it and to getting into this industry. And I had an amazing opportunity, but I was so eager and passionate about it that I just strive to be it.
Is there a point where because I'd get stuck like between needing to prove myself and just looking at who's around me and go, yeah, I could never match up to this. Why even try?
I wanted to be like them, and I wanted to be that, and it was so cool and it was so fun, and I strived just to make things look real. Like if my eye saw it, and my eye could see, like, oh no, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. I need to change this. And then I just experiment with different techniques. I learned a lot from other artists around me, but I also taught myself new techniques and ways that I like to do things.
When teaching yourself,
but ultimately, it was just striving to make things look real.
When teaching yourself, is there a point where you want to learn how to fail so you know how to do it yourself, versus when someone else is teaching you, they go, well, we don't do it this way because that's the wrong way. But if you're never told that, then so you might get it right and do it the wrong way, and it works out for you.
Totally. I would say failure is my greatest teacher.
It's kind of like starting your own
business. I've failed a lot.
Oh, really?
I've failed a lot. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Was that, I don't want to get into like too much of like father talk, but is that a personal thing, or would that end up being a thing of like, well, if I mess this up, my dad's going to be disappointed in me? Because I would get that way too much.
Not only my dad, but everybody else around me, nobody wants to fail, but everybody does. You know, we're not perfect. Yeah, but it was more I just wanted to be good. I wanted to be good.
I feel like you have achieved that. I mean, just looking like
Thanks.
it's pretty fantastic.
I'm still learning every day. Every new project that I start, whether it's for the business or a personal art project, especially with my personal art projects, I always try to, you know, finesse it a little more, push this a little bit more. Actually, a friend of mine on Instagram, he goes by Core Geek. Shout out Eric. He just sent me a Mandalorian bust, and it's 1/6 scale, I believe, and it's like from his waist up to his helmet, and he's got his armor. I'm very excited to paint this up. It's going to be my next personal project, and I'm excited for you guys to see it too. It's going to be a fun one.
I did see the post that does looks rad.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference between like painting things is your job, but do you work on canvas? Do you like painting flat, or like at one point you did say you do some digital work too, and I do
not much though, not much. As far as illustration goes, I have not honed my skills. I'm not proficient in illustration or 2D for that matter. I like painting 3D.
I have some experience. I paint like monsters for haunted houses, and I use an airbrush for that, and then I train a makeup team. So like I put the airbrush in their hand, and then in 2 years they're better than me. and it's great and it's a lot of fun. And some people like have an affinity working 2D and pencil and pen and marker on paper, and then like some don't because they're natural makeup artists. They also do glamour and stuff too. But it's interesting hearing people like, well, I want to paint a thing. You know, an object. It's 3D. I can find shadows. I can produce fake shadows. I can give a glare versus trying to like create a thing that looks 3D on this paper, on the screen.
It's nice to have those forms already there for you, as opposed to 2D where you have to fully create all of it. But with 3D, those forms are already there. And then if it's miniature, then you always have to enhance the shadows and the highlights and the textures for sure.
When you would, I don't know if you get to be assigned or like claim a gig or whatever, but when it's something like, oh, well, you have to paint this Iron Man helmet, is that a thing where like if the filming or the shoot needs like 6 helmets, like 1 to shoot and like 5 spare, or like to be in different locations, are you doing all 6, or like they're parsed out between different artists?
Typically, the same artist will do that same thing, so it remains consistent. Mm-hmm. That's the proper way to do it, in my opinion. That way, you know, 3 different people are doing it, and they all look different.
Yeah.
You know, if the same person does it, they keep that method consistent. That's how Legacy operates for the most part. But when there's such a large job, then you kind of have to divide the work into some sort of assembly line where, okay, this person shoots the base coat, and then this person starts masking with tape, and then this person shoots this color, or this person shoots the clear coat. You know, we all kind of have these jobs. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to, you know, with Aurum, typically I paint most things, and Eric's a phenomenal painter as well.
It's like, this is a dumb question as far as production goes. so like you've got I don't have names of any of the pistols, but if you've got, let's say, 5 of them that you're ready to paint.
Sunshot.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's only Sunshot? 2 of those so far, right? but do you do like the same colors on each one, or do you complete one and then complete the next one? It's like, well, I'm using all my white here.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
Yes, if I put white in my gun, I'm shooting white on everything that needs white.
Okay. That saves
time.
Yeah,
so I do it all at the same time. It does. It saves a lot of time. And, you know, cleaning out my gun 1,000 times isn't any fun.
No, it's not.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
One of the images I saved was your Pelican case with your airbrushes in it, all your airbrushes stacked up, which is probably from at least a year or 2 ago. 'Cause like,
oh wow, you guys have been following me for a little bit.
Well, I can do a little bit of research, so I just start scrolling back and picking out what I might want to talk about. And we use Iwatas at our park, but we use Eclipse models because they're just easy to clean and they're easy for me to replace the needle.
Alex is talking airbrushes now, by the way. Talking airbrushes.
It's just real simple for me to replace the cone and the needle versus like, yes, I know there's much better models for better reasons, but like I'm not going to put those in the hands of someone who's going to jump on the floor.
The Eclipse is a perfectly good airbrush. It's a great airbrush. I have one myself, and I use it all the time. It's great. It's a great, just standard middle ground airbrush. I love it.
That's good to know.
You're one step closer to making movies, man. You're right there. Oh man.
My favorite airbrush, if you're curious, is the HPTH. It's a little larger, and it's got a trigger, and it's got the pressure on the front. It's really nice for, you can paint large things, and you can also use it for miniatures. With the pressure being there, you can spatter really well with it. I actually have two of these airbrushes. I use one for like silicone and foam, and then the other one is more for like model paints and automotive paints and acrylics, stuff like that.
I've been interested in getting a trigger one versus the
the trigger's really nice too because it doesn't give you the trigger finger from the double action. It's just really smooth.
At the end of the day, that cramp, that gets bad.
It's for real.
Having worked on like just a quick glance at like your IMDb page, I have no idea how up to date or accurate this is or who puts
it's not up to date, and I don't even know who did it for me. But thanks whoever did. But
someone did.
They gave up a while ago.
But even having given up, because like the latest thing is from 2014, the stuff that's on here, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Cowboys and Aliens, which I thought was an unbelievably underrated movie. Snow White and the Huntsman,
That was Cowboys was my second film, my first or second, I believe, and next to Iron Man.
According to your IMDb page, it's your second credit.
There we go.
But again, who knows who is doing this? But anyway, like Captain America: Winter Soldier, again, arguably the best Marvel movie ever made. You have
I love that film.
You have some if I'm gonna put it bluntly here, some legit shit under your belt. And like
thanks, man.
most of course, man. Most recently, we talked about in pre-show. You do have some work that is being shown on The Mandalorian, week by week, essentially. That's still coming out as of this recording. We've had I think like 5 episodes or so. 6. Yeah, see, I'm not even up to date. But does it ever kind of get old seeing like when you're watching the show? And that's a thing that was me right there watching a movie. Like, does it ever get old seeing your work like that? I imagine it's pretty incredible the first time.
Yeah, you get used to it. Definitely get used to it, but it's still rewarding. It's still super cool to see your work on the screen because you know that so many other people are seeing it and other people think it's cool. So it's definitely rewarding.
Do you ever?
That's part of the reason why I like posting my artwork, my personal stuff on Instagram, is because people get to see it and hopefully it inspires them and they inspire me.
Do you ever look at your work once it's on the screen and go, I could have done that differently?
Totally.
I think that's the life of an artist,
All
you know.
time.
That's what I heard.
You're never good enough. Never good enough. It's a blessing and a curse,
How much restraint is involved? Because when you're doing like let's say the Mandalorian, if these pistols, his weapons have been around for a long time and they've been through a bunch of fights and they're kind of banged up, or someone's there's a lot of armors in your profile and there's a lot of work you've done. It's like, well, let's not give like 3 bullet dents, like just 2 will do. Versus like, I'd cover the thing in I don't know what's too much damage.
It's a crumpled up piece of tinfoil. That's my gun.
Yeah. Well, when you're working on a production, there's so much design that has already been established that you kind of have to follow order.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's already a story that they've created, and and in this episode this happens, and in the next episode he gets shot up, and so there's concepts that are made, and then you have to interpret that into reality, and you gotta follow those orders. A lot of that in film is out of your control. But you gotta make it look cool at the end of the day and get it approved. Are
there real challenges with that? Because it's somehow like watching.
It's hard sometimes.
Watching cosplayers make actual physical things out of, major studios have dozens of people making these costumes. And then like they work on their own Captain America for a year, and like, oh, they have like the Kevlar mesh underneath the star, the way it's shown. It's like, how'd you guys do that?
Right.
So at what point do you get like, work passed down that's already been designed by someone else in a different studio and go, now make this physical and make it look the way looks how we have it on screen, but it's got to be 3D now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. A lot of times when you get these Photoshop concepts, it's like, that's not real. That's some weird Photoshop magic, whatever. Like, sometimes it is a challenge. Yeah, you gotta come up. That's when you gotta come up with new techniques and pull out your bag of tricks. If it's like carbon fiber, my friend Jamie Grove, shout out Jamie Grove on Instagram. He taught me how to do carbon fiber, and I'll give you guys a little secret. You use fabric meshes, and you can lay them over and experiment it with a little bit and spray some layers and see what you get.
It's that easy. It's simple.
There you go. Just do it until you're happy with it,
Either with your own work or assigned gigs, how much confidence is there is like, well, I'm just going to do this versus practice? Like, do you still practice a lot? Or is there a lot like trial and error that you have to do before you can confidently establish a gig?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still have a lot to learn, man, but I feel like I have enough skill to where I can see something and I know I can tackle it.
There's a lot of people
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the both of us are just kind of like dumbstruck because neither of us, like when we have to, because we like, I think Alex is kind of in the same boat as me. It's like, I need to do this thing. Let me overthink this for like weeks to the point, and then it's just going to get put off.
I'd recommend not overthinking it and doing what you know. But it does take practice. You don't learn this shit overnight.
Right. Yep.
It takes a lot of practice.
Let's talk about, because you mentioned, I do want to talk about, York. We've touched on Aurum. You said you've been in business for about a year now. How, and you kind of, you said business has been great. What's kind of the goal with Aurum Effects? Is it mainly movie production work? Are you looking to work in gaming? All of the above? What's the kind of like your aim with the new company?
All of the above. We want to work in all forms of media, and with our last little short that we came out with, we want to produce our own media with our own artwork. But yes, we haven't worked on a movie through Aurum yet. We haven't done a movie. Mm-hmm. We did a little live action thing for a live action Bungie commercial. We made a gun and some gloves and some gauntlets, and that was our first like on TV commercial, and that was really exciting. It was really cool.
I'm still behind. I hear Bungie and I still think Halo. It's like, no, not anymore.
Then not for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm in the dark. I'm way behind.
Yeah, but Eric has done. I painted some Halo assault rifles back at Legacy, but Eric has done a lot of cool Halo stuff, like the plasma rifle, bunch of assault rifles, and he always likes to, when he makes something new, he'll get in costume and do it like third person, like it's video game graphics. By the way, go follow my partner Rated E for Eric on Instagram.
How is it working with a studio like Bungie? Because I mean, they've been around for a long time. They famously created Halo, and then they handed off Halo to 343, right. And they split off and started doing Destiny, which You know, I admit I was slow getting into Destiny myself, but after like when Destiny 2 came out, man, that game is so it's like an MMO but a first person. It's amazing. How is it, you know, working with a big one of the most recognizable, you know, gaming companies kind of out there right now?
Oh yeah, they're awesome. I had the pleasure to finally go and visit their studio in Bellevue, and it is massive. I believe there's 600 people working there right now, and I didn't even see all of it, but just the design floor. You're upstairs and you look down at the design floor. There's all these artists and all their desks and all their computers. It was a sight to see, and everybody was super nice, extremely creative people. Eric's actually working there part-time right now. He's doing a lot of their social media marketing and some other things. And yeah, Bungie's awesome. I have nothing but respect and gratitude for Bungie. I grew up playing, you know, Halo 3, and so
Same.
It's kind of a dream come true in a way. I never thought that I would be working directly for that company. So pretty cool. I also grew up being really fascinated with weapons and stuff. My dad does miniatures, and so we always had like rifles, World War II rifles, M1 Grands, Car 98s, M1A1 Thompsons, MP40s around the house, and you know, I got really interested in that stuff. So I've always been interested in weapons. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, violence, but I prefer making the toy versions.
Well, like the toy versions are so unique. Like that's one thing. Like this, and in particular, I feel like we may share the same affinity. Looking at your Instagram, the hand cannons in Destiny are just so top tier. Like I'm garbage with them in the actual game.
They're so fun. Their designs are so fun.
Yeah, like they're so like I mentioned the Sunshot earlier. Like that's the one that I've been using for like the past. But when I was like hardcore into Destiny 2 again a couple months ago, like. I randomly found the Sunshot. It was amazing, and I'm just exploding everything with it. But like, it's just their designs are so unique. I imagine for someone like yourself who has the ability to kind of make this stuff real, I imagine those must be a lot of fun to kind of create, or not really create, but like kind of replicate.
Totally. Yeah, the designers at Bungie, they're all amazing, and their job must be super fun. They get to create these things out of thin air, and then we get to make them into reality in 3D. Yeah, actually, the Sunshot, Eric and I made a couple of Sunshots together before we started our company.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of our projects that we did together prior.
When working with, let's say, Bungie, and you're going to make one of their guns, and if they've commissioned you to do it, if they've like... if you're working together on it versus like, well, I'm going to make this thing myself. Because we talked to like a cosplay prop maker a couple months ago, and like he has to try and make his own file to 3D print the thing.
Right.
Versus, do you guys come up with that yourself, or do they give you like a bunch of specs that they already have designed?
Yeah, so they'll give us the 3D assets that they have for the video game. But to print that, you know, it's a more low resolution model in the video game than it would be in 1-to-1 scale in real life. So after we get the asset, then Eric will go on the computer and he'll fine tune things and clean it up and make it superb for 3D printing.
make it printable, so it could actually happen.
And then once it's printed, we have to clean it up even further before paint.
What's your thoughts
on? I can't
on...
give you guys all the secrets here, okay?
You know, of course. You know, we gotta stay in business. You know, gotta keep the lights on. What are your thoughts on, you know, because 3D printing has become so kind of available. You know, like I used to work for a bookstore, and we sold low grade 3D printers at one point, and like people loved it. Like what are your thoughts on kind of like the open, like the more availability for people to kind of create this kind of stuff? Do you see that as a good thing?
I do. I think it enables more people to be creative, and I think the more creative people that we have in this world, the better we'll be. I always applaud anybody who's trying to be creative. It's a positive thing. So even if they just find a model online and they print it out and that makes them happy, good. That's good. You're making something, you know?
Absolutely.
I might be a little behind as game wise, and as far as like your stock and what you guys have been creating, are you looking to eventually make your own content in weapons, or are you making like other products like guns from other games, or do you have a desire to just make your own specific things?
We do have a desire to make our own IP, so to speak. I'd say we're very close.
Excellent.
Not going to reveal too much.
I was going to say,
I want to leave some surprises for you guys.
We're not going to press too much on that one.
I would say we are close. Yeah.
So in terms of special effects, having worked on special effects yourself, I feel like, back in like the days of like, the Star Wars prequels and like the Matrix movies, everyone was just everything is CGI now. Everything is just, there's no practical effects.
Right.
But then you see movies like Fury Road, which was hailed, for their use of practical effects and kind of like going back to like the old fashioned way, being like a kind of a student of the game yourself, do you lean more toward practical? Do you lean more like, are you kind of like a mix? Like, what are your thoughts on?
I'll let you answer that question. What do you think I like?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say you're more practical. Let me know if I'm right. Did I nail it? I nailed it.
All the way, baby. All the way. Now, that's not to say that visual effects aren't necessary, but man, you can do so much with practical. You can do so much, and it just looks real because it is, and it's not more expensive, unlike what other people think.
Yeah, that was the thing being touted for the longest time. It's like, oh well, you can save so much money, and you will just bankrupt a company or two, and then everything will be fine. They'll win. Was it Life of Pi?
Yep, Rhythm and Hughes.
They won the Oscar, and then
they went out of business.
Yeah.
You got to do the physical stuff.
Yeah, the fishes and whatnot.
What did you do for that one? For Life of Pi?
I was painting some flying fish.
Oh. Huh.
The scene where he's in the canoe and all those flying fish go over him.
I haven't seen the movie, but I've actually seen that scene miraculously. That's one of like the few parts that I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like that was a practical effect. Like that was your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my boss, Shane Mahan at Legacy, he was in the water throwing the fish, literally.
That's awesome.
Like you said, sometimes the simplest way is the best.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna throw these things, man. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Just a couple of us, just throw some fish, man. It'll be great.
When you talk to people, idiots like us, or friends or whatever, would you say that the fish from Life of Pi that were thrown by your boss, would that be on the more obscure things that you've done in your work? Does anything beat that?
No, I wasn't the one throwing the fish.
Right. Yeah,
unfortunately, it sounds like fun.
But
I honestly was pretty young when I was just helping out on that one. I was pretty young. I don't remember how old I was, but I was really young. I'm 26, by the way.
I'm like, when was Life of Pi?
Life of Pi was 2012. So if you're 26 now, and that was 7 years ago, good Lord, I have done nothing with my life.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, stop.
So, I'm really into process stuff. As you're painting things, does it get boring? Because let's say you have a bunch of the guns you got to paint, or the armor, or the helmets, or whatever. And one of the things I always remember seeing, I had to look it up. There's a picture of Steve Wang painting one of the Predator heads, and he's like lifting weights while he's doing it.
I know the picture you're talking about. That's a classic picture. That is a classic picture.
Like, is it that tedious? We're like, I I could just stand here and paint, or I could do some curls while I'm at it.
Yeah, I mean, oh God, Steve is an absolute master. So that dude he kills it. He could paint a predator with his eyes closed. He's one of my idols.
Do you ever find yourself like having to
fill the time
or multitask? I guess.
How so?
Like lifting weights while painting.
Painting with both hands at once.
Well, actually, don't really do that. But I do enjoy listening to podcasts. I like learning while I'm working. I listen to a lot of different types of podcasts, but just learning something new is always good.
Right. So let's talk about kind of the future. You know, we've touched on you know, some original stuff coming up for Aurum Effects. Do you have any kind of personal passion projects that you might be working towards? Some like casual, like, oh hey, I really want to make this in my own spare time. Like what are you doing in, you know, what do you got on the horizon, I guess?
What's happening in the future? Yeah. Well, I'm always striving to be a better artist. I've been painting for a while now, but I haven't been sculpting. And sculpting is something that I am definitely going to take up in the near future. And that's going to be a journey, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm going to watch some videos on, you know, Stan Winston School. You guys check them out or subscribe if you haven't. If you want to learn how to do this, I recommend StanWinstonSchool.com. They're amazing. Matt Winston and Eric Lidoff. Matt Winston's obviously Stan's son. Check them out. You can learn a lot about how to do this type of work from them. But yeah, I'm going to check out some videos, but I'm also just going to feel it out. I'm just going to do what looks right. I'm going to try at least. We'll see what happens. You guys will be there with me along the ride.
As you had said before, you had gotten the bust of the Mandalorian, and one of your other posts was one of the Iron Man statues.
That was for Sideshow.
Yeah.
At Legacy. That was a fun one. That was the last thing that I painted at Legacy, and my friend Ryan Pintar painted that alongside with me. He painted the amazing explosion at the bottom that lights up. Like, incredible. Ryan is amazing. Go follow Ryan Pintar. He also painted Baby Yoda, the puppet.
Oh.
So go follow that dude. He's awesome. He's another one of my mentors, and I really admire that dude a lot. Since
there's been a huge collectibles market just been exploding for the past number of years, because we've had so much cool stuff coming out. It's like, well, I need, you know, my own Hot Toys figure of every armor variant. And it has made sense. I know Weta, since doing Lord of the Rings, like, they make a lot of their own figures. They make their own statues because they've made the real thing, and they have all the tools to make the minis too. So why not do that? So with you, like, doing all the props that you've painted and made, do you see it making sense to do miniature versions of that, or is that something that's in your wheelhouse?
Well, okay, so if we're talking about the iconic characters like Iron Man or the Mandalorian or anything, I don't own the IP to be mass producing those things, but as a collectible. But on the contrary, if we create our own or work with other people to create unique and different things, then we have free reign. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Huh.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. I like the veiled statements there. I am very excited to see what the future holds. One quick thing before we start to wrap up here. I did notice on your Instagram that yourself and I think this is your partner that you're with Aurum Effects. You went to Monsterpalooza 2019 a couple weeks ago. Do you?
Yep.
Do you see yourself doing conventions in the future, like, you know, displaying your work and things like that? Or is that something that you kind of do like once in a while? Like, is that gonna be a common thing with Aurum?
I think that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen from time to time when it seems appropriate. Eric and I, mostly Eric, but I joined them on Sunday, I believe. We representing the bungee, a half or a part of the bungee booth, and our section was displaying most of the weapons and some stuff that we'd made from them and all these glass cases. And so Destiny fans and stuff would come through and check our workout and talk to us, and that was really fun. That was very fun. And Monster Palooza was also really fun. So yeah, I definitely see us doing more conventions.
There's a lot of sculpting and examples and painting, and there's just so much that goes on there.
At Monster Palooza?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So much talent packed into one house. It's insane.
And monsters.
And Paloozas.
And monsters. Yeah. Lots of monsters.
So we
Heck yeah.
We had mentioned the Instagram earlier on where people can go to see your work, and we always like to give people a moment or two to kind of plug their stuff. Is there anywhere else, if people wanted to go look you up, see your work, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, Instagram is one of the best ways. Follow me, my partner, our company, Aurum Effects, and you can check out our website, aurumeffects.com. Also, check out our YouTube channel because we're going to be uploading some new stuff gradually on the channel. So look Aurum Effects on YouTube, and you should find us.
It seems like the sky's the limit. Just looking at, I'm excited to check out like the upcoming YouTube stuff because it seems like you guys already have an eye for production and production quality and video, and like
Thanks.
It seems like you guys really, like I said, sky's the limit.
Speaking of video, follow Mark SPS on Instagram, or you can go on our page and see filmed and edited by Mark. Follow him. He did an incredible job filming that for us and editing that. And he did the visual effects as well, like when Eric's shooting the rifle. So check him out. He's rocking it.
I love how, and I don't know if this is, being an artist yourself, how quick you are to credit others. I think that's an amazing trait that more people need to kind of adopt. Like, yes, that was cool. That was this guy. He did this. Go follow him. Like, You've done it at least like half a dozen times, and I absolutely love that. All the respect in the world.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Well, like I said, I learned from so many other people around me, talented people. So, I can't take credit for all this. We're a team.
Absolutely. Derek, this was a great time. Congratulations
This was
on
fun.
Right,
I had a good time.
It's pretty cool. Congratulations on the company with Aurum. Congratulations on your recent engagement. It's just
Thank
it seems
you.
like you're killing it. I can't wait to see what you and your team come out with next. This was a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was rad. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll
Awesome.
talk to you guys soon.
Excellent. I think we're going to end it here. We're going to end on a high note. This was fantastic. So go check out Derek and Eric's company, Aurum Effects. Go look them up and keep an eye out for what the future holds. So until next time, that's
Rock on, dude.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's going to do it for this week. So until next time, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Derek Rosengrant.
And this has been episode 396 of Opinions May Vary.